Are we good to go? Try to.
Good morning. Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to call this special community planning and economic development meeting to order. And on our business items, Rick, do you want me to turn it over to you or?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. We appreciate everyone's participation in this morning's special Community Planning and Economic Development meeting to review a proposed amendment to our indoor recreation or amusement facilities ordinance. I also want to thank our town planner, Todd Dumay, and Economic Development Coordinator, Kristen Gorski, for joining us. By way of history, the council will recall that we did amend this ordinance back in January of this year, following several meetings with Charter Realty, the owners of Blueback Square. In fact, you'll recall Blueback Square met with our CPED committee last fall to outline their vision for Blueback Square and how certain changes to the indoor recreation ordinance would better support that vision, including potentially adding an experiential retail or entertainment option for Blueback Square. And this shared a similar vision that our council had back in 2016 and 2017 when the council created a new class of zoning use, which is our current indoor recreation ordinance. So in January, you'll recall that the ordinance was amended to allow indoor recreation or amusement facilities at 15,000 square feet or larger in the CBDH district to remain open to 1 a.m. on Friday night and Saturday night, and to operate under a cafe permit with the ability to impose a minimum age of entry. Since January, our team has met with Charter a number of times, and through these meetings, we've discussed the possibility of amending this ordinance a little bit further by adding live performances, including music, comedic, or disc jockeys, DJs, to our indoor recreation ordinance. Charters had interest from potential tenants who would be interested in providing an entertainment experience here in West Hartford, but would like to provide smaller live performances in addition to the indoor recreation experience. In order to accommodate that request, we would need to make a minor amendment to our current ordinance. And at this point, I'd like to pause there and turn things over to our town planner to discuss this proposed language change. And through you, Madam Chair, I will turn it over to Mr. Todd Dumay, who can provide a brief summary of that change. Through you, Madam Chair, Mr. Dumay.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, Madam Chair. As the town manager said, this is a relatively minor change to the ordinance, and it's a change within the definition section of the ordinance. So indoor recreation or amusement facility currently is a defined term, and it defines the use. In its definition, it's defined as an indoor recreation or amusement facility, excluding nightclubs, dance halls, or dance clubs. It's a bit of an odd definition, particularly in the title, but the change is pretty straightforward. So the change, the first part would eliminate the excluding nightclubs, dance halls, or dance clubs from the definition for an indoor recreation or amusement facility. It would also remove the prohibition on the use of a disc jockey from this type of use. It would add in the ability of one of these use types to allow for live performances that it could include but not be limited to music, comedy, or the use of disc jockeys, so long as they're accessory to the main use, which is some form of indoor recreation or amusement. And the way we ensure that it's an accessory use is by way of floor area. And as you can see in the proposed language of the ordinance would suggest that any such area set aside for the purposes of live performance does not exceed 30% of the gross floor area of the main facility. So 30% is obviously a accessory to the broader use. That is the only change proposed to the indoor recreation or amusement facility. However, the second change proposed under the ordinance would still continue the prohibition of nightclubs, dance halls, or dance clubs in the community. And just by way of background, a nightclub, dance hall, or dance club is not a permitted use currently anywhere in the town of West Hartford. And the way to ensure that that is captured and not changed under this ordinance would be to amend the definition for nightclub, dance hall, or dance clubs, which would basically reinforce the fact that they are not permitted in any zoning district. So those are the two changes proposed under this ordinance. The primary purpose is to provide, as the manager said, more flexibility in attracting potential indoor recreation or amusement facilities to town, and staff certainly has seen increasing interest in this type use. In particular, those interests also include a component of live performance accessory to that principal use.
Thank you, Mr. Dumais. Through you, Madam Chair, we can pause there and turn it over to the council for any questions on these changes.
Does anyone have any questions? No. Oh, Mayor Cantor does.
Thank you. I just am wondering if the change, we had changed this ordinance to have an age restriction. And I wonder, is that also included in this as well?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair, to our mayor. So that portion of the ordinance would remain in place. So there would, as you recall, back in January, we did amend the ordinance to have the possibility to impose a minimum age of entry. However, the tenants that potential tenants that Charter is working with right now would not require utilization of that portion of the ordinance. So it would remain in place. However, the uses that we're presently looking at would not require a minimum age of entry. They would be open to all ages.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions?
I do have one more question. Sorry. And so this this particular potential tenant would not use that that age restriction, but it would be if another operator came in and was using an an accessory use, they could have that adult use only in this space with live music, DJ, all of correct?
Correct. That would be potentially a possibility.
And then, so the other question follow-up I have with that, we have our entertainment license that would also be layered on top of this, so that if there was an operator that had maybe it wasn't conforming to some of the restrictions that we have in our community, that there would be some again some controls.
There are controls through that, Madam Chair, through you, Madam Chair, to our mayor, yes. And then in addition to that, any use would require a special use permit to come before our Planning and Zoning Commission as well. Mr. Dumais, do you want to describe that process for us?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Manager, through you, Madam Chair, to the mayor. That's correct. So these changes that are being contemplated here, just as the changes that were adopted last January, only enable some business entity to come in and ask for this use, as long as the ordinance allows for it. The use is only approvable through a special use permit process. So someone has to make an actual application to the Planning and Zoning Commission. That's subject to a public hearing, abutting property notification. And that application includes detailed floor plans. It includes detailed operational statement, and the Planning Commission has to review that within the construct of the ordinance that enables it, and also within their special use permit authority. And they can impose additional conditions on any application, including hours of restriction or operational changes. And there's also a 2-year look back. If a use is approved, 2 years after its approval, it has to come back for another public hearing with the Planning Commission to ensure there have not been any operational concerns or impacts to the neighborhood. If there are, they can impose additional restrictions. So it's a long way of saying that there are a number of controls, both on the zoning side and then on the entertainment license side for one of these types uses.
Thank you very much. That's really helpful.
Good, excuse me. Good morning. This is Mary. I have a quick question, please. So, through you, Madam Chair, excuse me. So the prohibition of dance halls and whatnot, I understand, I think, but the 30%, so that space, so that it's the music or live entertainment or what have you is an accessory and not, the dominant use. So if you had a band come in, let's say, and they're within the 30% or what have you, if they're a good band, people are going to get up and dance, right? They're going to get up, they're going to dance, they're going to have some fun. How do you make sure that, well, I'll just say it straight. How do we make sure we don't have another Los Imperios situation on our hands? I mean, I know we don't want to repeat that. So can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Sure, through you, Madam Chair. Certainly that's a concern for all of us. We would not want to relive that experience. But through kind of the controls that Mr. Dumais described that we would have in place would provide multiple levels of intervention if needed before even getting to that point. So certainly we have the entertainment license process, we have the special use permit process, and working closely with specifically charter, but obviously this could involve other parts of town as well. But specific to charter, there is an overall vision that they have for Blueback Square, which we are in agreement with, and certainly it's been, it's one of our many crown jewels that we have here in West Hartford. So working closely with them, we know that's not going to happen in this particular case, but in the event that it did in some other part of town, we have those different levels of intervention where we would get involved and shut something down if we needed to go that route. I don't know if that answers your question specifically, Councilor Fay.
Yes, it does perfectly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So if no one else has questions, do we have any communications?
We do not, just in terms of next steps, Madam Chair. So what would happen is this ordinance amendment would be placed on the September 12th Town Council agenda, and it would be referred to TPZ, and then subsequently we would hold a public hearing on the exact date would be, I believe, October 24th. Would be the date of the public hearing for the town council and the public at large.
Ben?
Should we take a vote of the committee to move this forward?
Yes, I'm sorry, this is the first vote taken in committee or something.
And if so, I'll make the motion.
Okay. Second the motion.
I have a question. I'm not formally on the, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm not formally on this committee. I don't know if I have a vote or not.
We don't, we don't usually vote something, through committee. It would just be a recommendation for the council, as what I would That's the normal practice, but
Yeah, sure, but may I still wait? I just want to make sure I'm technically correct. I'm not assigned to this. I try to come like you. I try to go to as many as I can, but I'm not on this committee. So may I participate is my question.
I mean, if I may, Madam Chair, typically we and again, the mayor's right, of course. I mean, they're not really formal votes, but when we've taken a sense of the committee, that's been of the committee, and not of general members who were there. So typically, Mary, not. And like I said, we all try to show up to observe other meetings, but it would be a sense of the actual committee members.
Okay, I just for the record, I do support it. So, but I don't have. Okay, I just want that was my question. I just want to be clear that I was doing the right thing, but I do support this for the record.
So I believe it's just Counselor Winograd and I, correct? So we're both voting to.
Yes, we're in agreement.
Yeah. So then this would move forward. This would be referred to TPZ for the September 12th meeting.
Correct. You'll receive the ordinance change on the 12th and will be referred. And we will hold a public hearing on this matter on October 24th.
Okay. And we don't have any, since this is a special committee meeting, we don't have any communications, we don't have any staff reports, correct?
Correct, Madam Chair.
And no future agenda items. So I'd like to call to adjourn this meeting at 8:18 a.m. Give you all a little bit of your 8 o'clock hour back. And have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Have a good day.
Take care.